All right, here is part 2 of lesson 923. In the day 2 of constructions, we did the parallel lines, we did the square, and now we're going to do the 30, 60, 90 triangle. Okay, starting here, we have using the information in the triangle at the right, how long is the hypotenuse? So they're saying how long is this side right here, the hypotenuse? And we know with 30, 60, 90 triangles that they have a special relationship. Okay, that relationship is that the short across from the 30 is the short side, across from the 60 is the short side times the square root of 3, and across from the 90 or the hypotenuse is 2 times the short side. And so for this problem here in A, the answer is for the hypotenuse would equal 2 times A. Hypotenuse equals 2 times A because in a 30, 60, 90 triangle, our hypotenuse is always twice the shortest side. All right, and then we're going to use that idea when we try to construct this 30, 60, 90 triangle. All right, they give us this on the resource page. This is what the resource page looks like here. They give you a 90-degree angle and an N, but this is like if we were working with pencil and paper, and so I'm going to show you how to do this on the E tool. Okay, first thing I'm going to do on the E tool, still got my square up, sorry. First thing I'm going to do on the E tool, I'm going to create that straight line that we saw for the square and that we saw for the perpendicular bisector, because yes, again, I'm making a perpendicular bisector. From this side, create a circle. From this side, create a circle, so we have these intersecting circles again. And we know that this creates a perpendicular bisector, meaning we have a 90-degree angle in here. All right. Now, this down here, this little length from the midpoint of your line out to here, that would kind of be our short side. That's kind of our A right here. All right. And what we know is that our hypotenuse has to be twice the length of A. All right. Well, what we know is that A, this distance from the midpoint out, or I could do it from the midpoint back to here. I think I'm going to say it that way. From the midpoint out to here, that's half of the radius. That's half of the radius. And so what has to happen here is that our hypotenuse, that's going to have to go from this point down to here, has to be the entire radius. Well, that's pretty nice actually, because this right here is the center of my circle. Big dot is the center of the circle. And if I draw it out to the top here, that's the radius of the circle. That goes to the edge of the circle. And so what I have here is, this is really from this point to the midpoint is half the radius. This point up to here is the entire radius, so it's 2 times the short side, and so I think I already have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Let's take a look at it. I actually quickly am going to just build it and then get rid of all the circles, and so I can see it a little more clearly here. And I'll get rid of this. And I go to my angle tool. I hope that this is a 90 because it was a perpendicular bisector, and it is. Down here, I have a 60. And up here, that means I'm going to have a 30. And just like that, I have my 30, 60, 90 triangle based on the idea of the perpendicular bisectors and using radius to know that my hypotenuse had to be the radius, and that when I made my perpendicular bisector, I was actually using the short side as half the radius. All right. Again, if you don't have a snipping tool, but screenshot your image somehow. Take that image and copy it and upload it to the Cami, or any way you can upload it so that I can see you've made it. And that even if you just put the picture on there, that's good enough. I know you've built it. Okay, that one's interesting. If you can find another method to build that, that would be very interesting to me. I have messed around with it, found a couple different ways, but that was definitely the quickest, easiest way to do it. All right, last one. It's talking about building a kite. Now, a kite's a little bit different. We need 2 pairs of congruent sides. We need a pair of congruent sides on top, pair of congruent sides on bottom, so that the adjacents are congruent to each other. And I'm just going to get right to how we can construct this. All right, so if I bring up my, because the resource page just says construct a kite, it's very vague. If I bring up the E tool, what I can do here is I can choose a circle. I'm going to choose 2 different size circles. So there's a size circle this big, and I'm going to choose a size circle that's a little bit smaller, maybe this big. but I do want them to intersect each other. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw two radiuses, one from the center of this circle out to this intersection, that radius, and another one down to here. Since those both are radiuses of this smaller circle, I know that this length is the same as this length. All right, and then I can go from the center of my big circle to those same intersection points, because that's also the radius of your big circle. And you have this length and this length. Now these two are a little bit longer because that circle's bigger, has a little bit longer of a radius, but those two radiuses are the same. And so if I erase my circles here, or hide them, I can confirm that this is definitely a kite by looking at the lengths. So if I click here, that's 2.75. This length here, 2.75, because they were both the radius of that big circle. And this one here is 1.83, and this one here is 1.83. And so this is definitely a kite. It's got those matching sides adjacent to each other, and that's all it takes. That one, I actually don't know another strategy to create the kite using our geometry tools. If you can find one, I'd love it for you to share it with me. Otherwise, that's a fine strategy for that one. That's the last problem, I believe, on this lesson. If you have questions about anything constructions, please be sure to email me. I'm happy to make videos showing different methods if these ones didn't make sense to you. And lastly, like I said in the first video, when you're making constructions, please do not just draw like a square. Please don't go on to your e-tool and make something that looks like this and tell me that it's a kite. All right, that's not the basis of constructions. We all have been able to, in our life, draw out things like a kite or draw out squares. This is actually using geometric tools to create the shapes and see these relationships. All right, I had to reinforce that one more time. Probably sound like a broken record or something, but still important to me. All right, that's it for this video. Again, if you have questions, email me.